In the second chapter of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Bennet reveals his intention to visit Mr. Bingley, surprising his wife and daughters. This chapter continues to develop the characters and their dynamics, highlighting Mr. Bennet's secretive yet playful nature and Mrs. Bennet's obsession with marrying off her daughters. Mr. Bennet's visit to Mr. Bingley is significant as it demonstrates his hidden concern for his daughters' futures, despite his outwardly indifferent demeanor. The chapter begins with Mr. Bennet teasing his family about visiting Mr. Bingley, initially pretending he has no intention of doing so. Mrs. Bennet is frustrated and anxious, revealing her determination to secure good matches for her daughters. When Mr. Bennet finally discloses that he has already visited Mr. Bingley, Mrs. Bennet is delighted, showcasing her singular focus on social advancement through marriage. This interaction emphasizes the contrasting personalities of Mr. and Mrs. Bennet. Mr. Bennet's dry humor and tendency to mock his wife under his intellectual superiority and detachment from the social frivolities that consume her. Mrs. Bennet's reaction further characterizes her as a nervous and shallow woman, fixated on the idea that the only way for her daughters to achieve security and happiness is through advantageous marriages. Austen continues to use irony and wit to critique the social norms of her time. Mr. Bennet's mockery of his wife's anxiety about securing wealthy husbands for their daughters points to the absurdity of such societal pressures. His eventual decision to visit Mr. Bingley also subtly critiques the gender roles of the period, where men controlled the social interactions that could determine women's futures. The chapter also subtly introduces the notion of Mr. Bennet's role as a father. While he appears disengaged, his actions reveal a deeper layer of responsibility. By visiting Mr. Bingley, he opens the door for his daughters to be socially acknowledged by a wealthy and eligible bachelor, demonstrating his indirect involvement in their matrimonial prospects. This layered portrayal of Mr. Bennet suggests that while he disapproves of his wife's mercenary attitude, he still cares for his daughter's well-being. In conclusion, Chapter 2 of Pride and Prejudice further establishes the primary themes and character dynamics introduced in the first chapter. Mr. Bennet's visit to Mr. Bingley not only advances the plot, but also deepens our understanding of his complex character. Mrs. Bennet's reaction continues to highlight the societal pressures faced by women of the time, underscoring the limited options available to them. Through humor and irony, Austen critiques the social structures and expectations of her era, setting the stage for the evolving relationships and social commentary that will unfold throughout the novel.